Yo, what's going on, guys? And before we start with today's video, I'd actually like to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor called Geek Nations. Now, Geek Nations is one of the top leading anime and gaming web stores on the market, specializing in some of the most unique Dragon Ball merchandise out there. My friends over at Geek Nations reached out to me to help me bring you guys this special limited time offer where you can get a free Dragon Ball snapback with any jacket or hoodie purchase. All you pretty much have to do is pick up whatever hoodie you like, add it to your cart, a pop-up will appear with the offer, then you just add the hat and it's yours. You can also use the code TECH for 10% off any products whatsoever, and for all of you iOS users out there, they have some really sick iPhone cases that come with free Dragon Ball pop sockets. I myself am an Android user, so if any of you guys out there pick up the iPhone cases, definitely tweet me, show me what they look like. But anyways, that's gonna do it for that, and enjoy the video.
I got swords on my back, set my right back. Ninjas with me, niggas. Stars at these bitches. Eating ramen noodles in the hood with my niggas.
When Beerus made his first appearance at the beginning of Dragon Ball Super, it was unfortunately at the expense of Super Saiyan 3 Goku, and what he did was show us just how powerful the strength of the God Realm really is. Throughout the course of Dragon Ball Super, we did begin to learn a little more about the God forms as we saw both Goku and Vegeta master Super Saiyan Blue, battle on par with Gods of Destruction, and they even met Lord Zeno, the being that can erase an entire universe with ease. But even with all the progression and new knowledge that we gained, we never really got to dive into the history of the gods that much. This is a new fan manga that I found called Dragon Ball Infinity, and it goes into the depths of the history of the Gods of Destruction, dating ages before the beginning of Dragon Ball. The first thing we see is a space pod from who knows where, and it enters the atmosphere of an unknown planet. From on the planet, we see a girl who gets startled by the space pod. When she begins to approach the spaceship, it opens, and from inside, she finds a small baby. This is the first we see of this person fully, and she seems to be of the same race as Beerus as she picks up the baby and takes him with her. This is Aliaban City, a heavily guarded ancient kingdom, and when she approaches, we learn that her name is Yokina. The guys guarding ask her what it is that she has in her hands, but when she presents the baby, they panic, never really seeing something like this before, and demand that somebody go get the pharaoh immediately. The guard asks Yokina what would possibly make her bring this creature back to the kingdom, not knowing what it's capable of. But then all of a sudden, one of the guards returns with the pharaoh. This is the pharaoh Lord Noob, and as we're coming to realize, everybody in this kingdom seems to be of the same race as Beerus. The first thing the pharaoh says is that it's been reported Yokina found something interesting and requests to see it immediately. Of course, you and I see no threat in an infant, but the pharaoh demands that they get rid of it immediately as they don't know what kind of threat he could pose in the future, and I think we've all seen this type of deal before. Of course, Yokina opposes right away to the execution of a baby, but after being barked at by the pharaoh, she puts the baby down. As one of the guards raises his spear, Yokina covers her eyes in horror as they attempt to execute the baby with a spear through the head, but to everyone's shock, even the pharaoh, the spear has no effect on the baby as it leaves nothing but a dent in his forehead. Interested now, the pharaoh approaches the infant, impressed with how tough he seems to be, but in the back of his mind, he says that this boy could be of some use if kept under control. He changes his mind abruptly and appoints Yokina in charge of looking after and raising the infant. But before they leave, they decide that it's probably best to give the baby a name, so they decide to go with Tima. Fast forward a few years and we see Tima has grown up quite a bit. As he's walking towards the kingdom, he sees a group of guys surrounding one of his friends, but when we overhear what they're saying, they seem to be bullying him, telling him to give them all of his food. Tima steps up then, telling them to leave him alone. One of the guys charges straight in to attack with no hesitation whatsoever, but Tima easily deflects his fist, and then he knocks him away with a single punch, sending him flying through a sand dune. This seems to be enough to get the message across, as the other two guys decide that it's best to get out of here. The guy that they were bullying thanks Tima and decides to share his food with him, but it's about time for Tima to return to the pharaoh, so he heads off towards the palace. As Tima returns to the kingdom, he's greeted by the pharaoh, confirming that he completed the mission he was on, and then the pharaoh tells him to come with him so he can see what his destiny will entail. Next, we find ourselves overlooking acres of pyramids as the pharaoh asks his son, does he even know what he's been helping build for all these years? Tima says that they help power the city, but then the pharaoh goes on to explain that because their planet is such a barren wasteland, they've had to develop a way to grow food and herbs using a form of growing food only using water. And the pyramids that they build absorb solar power through the gold caps at the top, and they concentrate the power into batteries in order to power the city. He then goes on to mention that during the 7 days of darkness that will soon be upon them, which is something that goes on every so often here, the town won't be able to use the solar power from the pyramids, but he himself explains that his throne isn't just some ordinary throne that he sits on. This is a seat that actually allows him to power the city through his own energy, so while he's gone, he tells Tima that he's allowed to stay at the palace and eat as much as he wants while he's gone. As we see, Tima is busy enjoying all of the perks of the palace as we see him being bathed and a full banquet prepared just for him. Later on that night, however, as Tima returns to his mother, she seems to be acting strangely, so he asks if she's okay. However, to his shock, he looks into her eyes that have now become white as she says that she's lost her sight forever. Tima breaks down and embraces his mother, but she says that she has something important that she must tell him before it's too late. She says that the reason she has her place in the city is because the pharaoh murdered her father. She says that she heard that her father had been banished to the desert, so the day that she found Tima was the day that she was going to look for her father. She also states that her father was a powerful warrior who questioned the pharaoh's godhood. He led a group of warriors in charge of getting the life water for the pharaoh, which is the mission that Tima was on previously to retrieve the life water for the pharaoh, which is the substance that keeps him young and strong. But the group that he led was not built to serve the pharaoh. It was built for the day that they had to rebel and defeat him themselves, and this is why he was eventually murdered. Tima assures her not to worry because he seems to be in the pharaoh's good graces, but his mother tells him that that means next to nothing because her father was in the pharaoh's good graces as well, and he was still murdered. So she fears the closer Tima gets to the pharaoh, the more danger he'll be in. However, Tima assures her one final time that everything will be okay as he has it all covered, and they go back to their quarters to rest. That's gonna wrap it up for this one, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching until the end again. I'll probably be dropping some Jump Force matches tomorrow, and I might have a guest on later this week if we can get our schedules right, so stay tuned for that. Not gonna say who it is yet, but I know you guys will love it. Don't forget to follow me on both Twitch and Twitter, which should be either on the screen or down below. And also, don't forget to check out Geek Nations for some dope anime merch. If you do shop, don't forget to use code TECH at checkout for 10% off of your order. But anyways, have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.